everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going back to 1992 and some of the finest amplifiers ever made. What we've got here is a Soundstream D102, a Class A 52, and a Class A 102. And one of the cool things that these amps had were these awesome connections on them. Really cool and very unique at this time. So we roll over to the Car Audio and Electronics Buyer's Guide for 1992, and we're gonna find all of these amps in here. We've got the Class A 100 at $575. We've got the Class A 50 at $395. And then we've got the D100 at $339. So the crazy thing is, this amp, the D102, is rated at 50 watts times 2, 4 ohms. The Class A 52 is rated 25 times 2 at 4 ohms. And the Class A 100 is rated at 50 watts times 2 at 4 ohms. And you can see these are exactly the same heatsink. Measuring it in at 6 inches by 6.5, and these are all the same extrusion, and the bigger one is 11 inches. So we're gonna open these things up and we're gonna look inside and see, you know, hey, how is this little guy 50 times 2 and this one's only 25 times 2? And this thing, it's almost twice as big and it's the same power. So let's check them out. Let's open them up. Take a look. Hey, keep watching this video. It gets pretty interesting. I found out some pretty cool stuff. Hey, don't forget to leave some comments, like, and hey, if you haven't already, please subscribe. It really helps out the channel. So no, you're not seeing double. The one on the right is the D100 and the one on the left is the Class A 50, and they use the same exact board. The Class A 50 uses these blue caps, and the D100 uses these black caps, so both of them are the same exact value and voltage. So the power supply section of both of these amps are identical, and they both use the same IC to control it. So when we get to the output section of these amplifiers is where we really get to see the differences between the two. Both use the TIP 42 and 47 output transistors, but how they control the bias on these transistors is quite different. The D100 uses a kind of a standard emitter resistor of a value of 0.100 ohms. And where the Class A 50 differs is it uses a 100 ohm emitter resistor and also has a diode in series with it. As you can see, the 10 resistors with the black diodes next to it. All right, let's fire these babies up. So this one's I have never powered this thing up. I have no idea if it works. So we're gonna hope for the best. Here, relay's clicking. We got red lights. So here's why you never give up. So after getting these things set up on the bench, found that we had no left channel output on this amp at all. And so one of the biggest issues with these Soundstream amps are these really shitty switches that get boogered up. So I cleaned the switch. I cleaned it again. I let it sit overnight and I sprayed it, cleaned it all out, switched it back and forth 6 million times, and what do we got? We now have noise coming out of both speakers, and you can verify that with the VU meter. So let me also show you another trick to keep these things leveled. Is I can use a voltmeter, but I can also use these VU meters and then switch the amp. And then I can set the gains to where they match pretty reasonably close. So let's go ahead and do a sound demo on these things, and let's find out how they compare. All right, I got these things all queued up on the bench, and you're gonna notice that these things have quite a different sound to them. And I've got some reference material, RTA testing, that's gonna show really the difference between these things. And you can audibly hear it, but you know, I think both these things sound amazing, and I've been listening to them for quite a while. These things are pretty spectacular. So let's check them out. Let's see if there really is a difference between the D100 and the Class A 50. See if, or was Soundstream just pulling one over our eyes? Let's check it out. I got remotes now. Baby, just not get ahead of my time. Oh, but I don't miss you, baby. So I said, let's speak about mine. Oh. If you guys want to have more information on the switcher I am using, I have a video on it. Also, there should be a link in this description. All right, we'll go up first is the D100. It's rated 50 watts times 4 ohms. Both channels are driven, loaded, locked and loaded. Let's see what she'll do. Looks like we got 48. Let's see what kind of dynamic power this thing's got. Same test. Looks like we got 57 watts. All right, we got the Class A 50. Let's see what it'll do. 4 ohms, rated 25 watts. And that's what we got. 25 watts. See what she's got dynamically. Looks like we got 26. The same parts. All right, I ran it again and I got 28. So, Well, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed making this video. And again, thank you to William for loaning me actually sending me the D100, and Miguel, I'll send this back to you here pretty soon, with the Class A 100. So it was a lot of fun. I didn't know what to expect. I was really curious why one made more power than the other, but it's obvious why one makes more power than the other. It's called heat. The Class A amp is very inefficient. I didn't calculate the efficiency. It's kind of a pain in the neck to accurately do that. I mean, if you're off even slightly, it throws it off to the point to where the number's useless. But it's obvious where the heat was going. I mean, at running these at fairly moderate to high levels, this amp, the Class A amp, got to 130 degrees. And the D100 really was rolling around, you know, low 90s. That's massive, massive. And so apparently the thermal runaway on these things was a big issue. And I don't know what the original D amps, what they changed, Wade Stewart changed in them to work with the thermal properties of it, but they don't get very hot. I'd be curious, maybe at a later date, I will stick the scope on it and see how this thing is biased. These do not have any type of bias adjustment pot. So they kind of are what they are, done with resistors. So interesting to see the difference in parts. Let me know in the comments, do you think it's a good value? I mean, 120 bucks for an amp that makes half the power, gets, you know, 50% hotter, and cost $120 more. Well, I'm gonna say that's probably about 40% more in cost. I don't really think it's a great value. I think if by just the sound tests of these things, I would say that the Class A maybe would sound a little better on some tweeters just because it seemed to have a wider soundstage. Obviously, for some reason, the D100 had a lot better low end in it, or at least it was playing a full range of low end.
The D100 on the RTA had a really flat frequency response from about 16,000 hertz all the way down to about 45 hertz.
And whereas the Class A 100, you know, maybe it was designed to not really take into consideration the low frequencies, you know.
So as you can see, the Class A 50, really the frequency response wasn't nearly as flat as the D100 and had a bit of a roll off at 60 hertz. And as you also notice, neither amp played above 16,000 hertz, which really isn't a big deal because we can't really hear much beyond that.
You're not going to run this thing to a subwoofer. I mean, come on, be serious about it. So, but anyways, I want to know what you guys think. You know, was the Class A thing, you know, is it worth it? I'll be honest with you, I don't think so. If I was gonna, you know, run either one of these in my vehicle, I'd probably pick the D100 just because, one, I'd like a little bit more power. I think 25 watts really isn't anything to write home about. 50 watts is something that's pretty usable on, you know, either mid-ranges or tweeters or something. And the heat's a problem. You know, if you got like an SQ car that's just used for competition at very moderate levels, keep in mind, this thing makes maximum heat at idle current.
So this is totally crazy. This 25 watts of channel amplifier pulls nearly 3 amps of current at idle. And in comparison, the D100 only pulled half an amp.
Swear to God, just sitting there with no signal going through it, this thing reached 130 degrees just hanging out. So that would be kind of a problem. I think even with fans on it, this thing's gonna get hot. So anyways, again, let me know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.